Thank you all so much for coming back and spending some time to talk with me in the audience. I wanted to remind the audience that those of you who have questions to please write them on a note card and someone will get them to me. I have a couple already that I'm going to ask in a minute, but please do, now's your opportunity. I have so many questions, of course, and just taking in the beautiful complexity and specificity of each of your practices and what you shared today with us is really just a drop in the bucket. I wanted to begin by asking you all, well, first of all, to thank you all for that, and then to ask you to talk about your what your collaboration with Rashaad has been like, and maybe starting with Robert, since you composed the music that we hear when we enter the drill hall. Could you talk about how that collaboration came to be, how you and Rashaad met, and what has being a part of the Assembly been for you?
Certainly. So I became acutely aware of Rashaad's work in 2013. I was doing a colloquium ahead of my residency at MPAC in Troy, New York, which is a performing and visual arts institution. And the curator of time-based visual art had arranged this colloquium with a few artists and a few curators, which each gave a presentation. And there was one curator there who at the time was at SF MoMA by the name of Frank Smeagol. And Frank's presentation was showing an iteration of Rashaad's Shade piece that was performed at SF MoMA. And I immediately felt, thinking about what was being said earlier on in the earlier discussion at the top of the salon about the sorry, I tend to ramble. The experience that you get from Rashaad's work and this idea of being otherworldly or fantastic in this way, and I got all those things, but the first thing I thought when I saw this work was kinship, and saw the relation as a multidisciplinary artist, seeing how I felt akin to the work that Rashaad was doing, and the way in which he arranged the piece and the conduction of this particular piece. And so I've been a fan of his work for some years. He became familiar with my work, unbeknownst to me, and reached out to me, inviting me to collaborate with him on this, which I immediately said yes, because I understood what that meant and what the body of his work meant to me, and how I could relate and collaborate and join in this moment. And so,
just for the benefit of the audience, I'm wondering, could you tell them a little bit about the prompt that you and Rashaad came up with, or Rashaad had?
So Rashaad had asked me to build a soundscape for the poetry mode of the exhibition, which you hear in Drill Hall, which runs during the exhibition, and had sort of explained that it was not only a sort of a survey of his work over the last several years, but sort of pushing it forward and having a deeper exploration of the diaspora. And so I was basically tasked with creating a world of sound, building a world of sound inside of the space that would exist with the poem that Dazié and Being created. And so he would, as the poem was being generated and being written, he would send me pieces of the poem, and I was responding to those things. I was thinking about I was thinking about the concept of electronic music, club music, what that meant, where those things began. You know, when you think about techno or house and these forms of black electronic music, how the inception was around this idea of a safe space, and also looking even further back into traditional forms of African music, rhythmic music, investigating these ideas of polyrhythms and thinking about, you know, slave trade lines and what you would sort of get from traditions, folk traditions, Côte d'Ivoire or Angola or, you know, so on. And then there was also a poll that was a survey that was done where people were asked specifically what sounds they would relate to a moment like this.
I think I was one of the people who took that poll.
And there were certain things. I'm sorry, I'm trying to make this as quick as possible. There were certain things in the poll where people would say things like popping grease in a skillet, or sounds of the ocean, or the church and gospel, and then also tying that into this concept of assembly, and then what that meant to me, and how I not only thought about assembly in the context of being in school and going to a school assembly, but also in the construct of the church. And one of the elements that I use, I actually did field recordings and did record grease popping in a skillet in a really hot pan. But over the holiday, my aunt and cousin had sent a text message in the form of a voicemail message during the holiday in which they sang a portion of "O Come All Ye Faithful," and I took that and processed that and made that into an element of the sound that you're hearing inside of the soundscape, as well as collaborating with Chiron L, who's a part of Assembly. And as I was creating the work, Rashaad was then giving it to Chiron, and Chiron was singing and improvising over that, and then I took his voice and embedded that inside of it. And then the way it is arranged in the space, there's a canopy with an array of speakers, and the sound is moving throughout the speakers, creating sort of a cloud of sound that's moving fluidly throughout the space. And that also relates to work back to 2014 when I did that residency at Impact. That began a process of a full year of investigating this concept of creating sound in a multi-speaker system to create a cloud of sound where you couldn't discern where the sound would be coming from next, and eventually you would sort of just sink into the space, and therefore trying to achieve some sort of a hypnagogic state.
That's really fascinating, this idea of a cloud sound. You know, I think that just, you know, my own experience of being in the drill hall and experiencing assembly is that you achieved, you know, precisely what you set out to, insofar as I did feel, you know, it's one of those spaces that are very rare right now, where people just stay and linger and interact with each other and sit down. And, you know, I think we're all kind of like rushed through spaces right now because of the pandemic, and we don't really know how to be co-present to each other. And this idea of a kind of ambient or cloud soundtrack to go with the spectacular hologram and the visuals, there is a hypnagogic aspect to that for sure. I want to ask others to talk about how you came into collaboration with Rashaad, and maybe Puma, just to turn to you, because we heard a little bit from you in the documentary about your projects in Brazil. How has it been like now being in New York? I know it's just a couple weeks or days, but can you tell us something about what the collaboration has been like?
Like for me, I will try in English, and if I have some mistake or something, you help me. Okay? Thank you. So thank you. Be patient with me.
We're patient.
So in capoeira, we sing always. There are rivers. I will say in Portuguese that part. Os rios, eles se encontram para ficar mais fortes.
The rivers come together so they can become more strong. That's what they think. The rivers, they come together so that they can gain more strength. It's a saying in capoeira.
Então, quando os rios eles ficam cada vez mais distantes das suas nascentes, eles começam a ficar fracos.
So when the river gets further away from its source, it gets weaker.
Mas eles se encontram porque eles precisam se encontrar para se fortalecer e desaguar no todo.
However, regardless, they still find a way to find each other and become stronger altogether.
And they go all together is the sea, is the ocean.
Yeah,
this
and altogether is the ocean, everything
and
together
the
in
ocean means all of us, everyone that is happening here. Our history are connected. Like we talk about different experiences, but with the same ground, the same roots. We came for talk about freedom, somewhere. So my connection with Rashaad, I felt that I met him not for coincidence. I met in the moment that I don't want to trust myself anymore, and I'm one potence, I know, but I don't was really trusting about that. Because in capoeira community, we are so powerful, but we don't use this power outside to our community. Outside to our community, we are malandro. Malandro, you kind of hide yourself. Anyone can know what you can do. So in capoeira, we don't show our fight. We dance. It's not fight. No. If I need like fight with someone, I run, I rush for don't kill. Yeah, for don't kill, I rush. So we always have this mindset. And in ballroom community, it's totally different. So you be strong and look to me, look this. In ballroom, you use that power that in capoeira I would have. So met Rashaad was exactly in the moment that I was needing connect with my own power. Rashaad called me. He was doing the casting, but I don't thought that I could be able to participate of assembly. So when I saw that, I'm new, I'm beginner in ballroom community. I have 3 years. And this is not my space. It's from travestis and femme queens. And I already know that this space is made for they, and the ground they did is about their body. So when I come to talk about ballroom, for me, I feel it's not my time. So I said, I don't will send nothing. I'm afraid about that. I think one day I will start to talk. And Rashaad called me, said, I heard talk about you a lot, and I really wanna you here in assembly with us. And I still like 6 or 7 days thinking about what happening. Oh my God, I will go to New York, talk about ballroom. Oh my God. And I still don't send the video. I don't know if you saw, but the videos that I was there was from my Instagram. Everyone had video that I sent, but I didn't send because I thought, even though he wants me, he don't know. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. Not it's about me. I know. But he really trusts. He said, not it's about ballroom and what you're doing, but it's about what your presence means in this project. Like you are a bridge between both communities. Mm-hmm. So assembly is about that. And after that, I felt that I met another river. I was going far away of my source, how I say, the fountain, of my fountain. And I was being so weak, like really don't trust myself. And I met someone that making me powerful. And now I arrive here, I was using comparison. Look, everyone was like, oh my God, they are incredible. Oh my God. And I kind of have been doing uploading of everyone and learning from everyone here, with you too also. So I have been doing upload, And they already have new dreams, new things. So I'm feeling that this
Yeah.
experience for me is that
Yeah.
what capoeira taught me.
That's really, really beautiful. I wonder if we could turn to Miss Boogie. You know, you are very early on. You appear very early on in the evening performance of Assembly. Did you also have this experience of absorbing the creativity of the other members of the company, and what it's been like for you to collaborate with Rashaad as part of? I know you said a bit already in your presentation.
Yes. So Newsome and I collaborated for the first time. I don't have too much of a calendar, but I'd probably say like maybe 4 years ago. And his work just kind of, thankfully so, just popped up on my screen on several occasions. Back then, we weren't so committed to like the Instagram algorithm, so things that were meant for you really kind of came across your platform, and things that, you know, friends shared. So I do have friends that have collaborated with him in the past, and I think what attracted me the most to any opportunities that Rashaad presents is the reflection that I see of myself. So that immediately puts me in a position of leadership of my narrative and my experience. So with Assembly, Rashaad really just opened up the platform and the space for me to lead. And that is exactly in alignment with where I am in my career and my position in my community and in my organizing. So I felt that Assembly was very suitable. It just wasn't a gig or, you know, just kind of like a performance, so to speak. Because I come from just kind of like a festival stage or club stage background where I just get on the mic and go, and there's not too much conversation. Presentation is kind of like what you make it, but in this space I felt so much power in my leadership where not only based off of the geography of the space, but also in my message, right? So this song, Femme Queen, that I do perform, to me was kind of, when I made it, I guess it was an homage to, you know, the women that came before me, the femme queens that came before me. But Rashaad was able to take the song and really translate it into more of like just a multi-dimensional, multimedia like purpose. And it truly has became, you know, really a part of the soundtrack. So it's truly an honor to, of course, open up the show, but going back to the geographical setting of how we're performing, it's really my first time performing in such a leveled position to an audience. Usually I'm kind of like on an elevated space like this, like a stage, and I'm looking down, and you kind of just don't really pay attention to who's down there, and you just do your thing. But I mean, eye contact is so real in this performance. The degrees of separation are just smaller. The fourth wall is completely broken. And then also in that regard to the fourth wall, this is just such a great bridge for me between kind of like my musical performance and a bridge to theater as well. Not necessarily that, you know, theater, I saw theater as a part of my performance art, but inevitably it is truly part of theater. The way I show up in the world, the way I walk in the street, everything is theatrical when you're a femme queen. So being able to perform in Assembly really evoked, you know, those spirits again for me, especially my emotional landscape before joining Assembly was kind of just disconfigured, and I was just shuffling my deck again and seeing what card came out next. And at the same time, producing work that is not only retrospective, but also futuristic and trying to remain present in the midst of all of that. So this was a great way to kind of recalibrate, you know, my just emotions and my position and my mission statement and my artistry. So that's how I came about in Assembly.
Amazing. And something you said about how this has been important to you, not only as like a, you know, performance opportunity, but also in relationship to activism, reminds me of a conversation Dazié, you and I had about how important this is to, you know, your understanding of Assembly, and that more people need to understand that there's this protest element to the piece. Do you want to talk about that? and or anything else about what brings you to, your collaboration with Rashaad?
Sure. I think that there's like a protest art piece that goes unnamed with Assembly that's happening all around us and through us. There's particularly for Femme Queens, for the large number of Black and brown transgender bodies that have been added to the earth way too soon because of hatred and because of stupidity and because of ignorance and of negligence, is how it opens. Is the first thing that happens is like, this is happening and bringing attention to it, but it's like, it becomes about dance, it becomes about Vogue, but also like the relationships that we have with one another, us being able to see each other and honor each other, respect each other, and be with one another in a creative, positive environment. Like, that's a protest within itself. Like, it just keeps kind of building and going. But it's interesting to me that like more people aren't talking about that piece of it, because it's what gives the piece its punch, its context, its value to me, is that it's constantly uplifting, elevating, honoring, respecting, and activating like queer, brown, Black, and trans people's experiences for themselves, for us not only to see one another, but a call to see yourself outside of all of that, and to really understand and value that what it is and who we are is special.
I was going to say, sorry to interrupt, majority of the magic happens really behind stage. Us like seeing each other backstage is the euphoric experience for me. Like being in the whole like hallway full of just people like me, and in the green room next door, in the dressing room next door, it's like you pop out your head and you're just seeing yourself walk back and forth, and that is really magical.
In like a world that like we were told that we don't exist, we shouldn't exist, we can't exist, and if they have anything to say about it, we won't exist. Like, we're here thriving and loving on each other and experiencing each other, and like that's part of the protest, that's part of the revolution, is us being together and us being elevated and supported and being told to evolve and grow and to be more of ourselves by Rashaad, and Rashaad creating opportunities for us to continue doing what we do best.
And I think that also just the communal aspect of everything involved. There's this sort of, it feels almost egalitarian in a way, like there's nothing that's hierarchical, like everyone's on the same plane and existing in that space and existing together and moving together. There's a fluidity that is happening in a space that is, it's a subversive show in this particular space. And a lot of that has to do with the concept of transforming the space itself, like making a space within a space and turning that into something that it wasn't when you walked into that space. I think that has a lot to do with it.
I want to add like one thing also that means a lot for me in this project also is the opportunity from United States know more about what's happening with Black people around the world. So I bring the history from Brazil that maybe the people here don't know. But in Brazil was the place outside to Africa that I went more Black people around the world. So there is 70% Black. Usually they say it's 51, 52, but people with skin that is not dark like mine, it is not Black. Dazié is not Black in Brazil. He is pardo. E pardo is Black. And they say that a pardo don't call Black, because there is not good things to say Black. So in our community, even though in Capoeira community, we say that we all are one, we all are Black, and we all fighting for the same thing. So we use our elements for our culture to talk about our history. And Dominican Republic have another, in Colombia have another, and in this project we have opportunity to hear more our roots and how we connected in the same meaning. So assembly is our meeting to know, to be empowered for each history.
Yeah, it's truly like a call of duty.
The what?
I said the experience is truly like a call of duty.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have a question from the audience that maybe it's perhaps more addressed to me than to the panel, but I'll ask it. I mean, you'll see why it's addressed to me. Oh yeah, did you want to, yeah, we understood. They understood. Yeah, totally. Yeah, everyone understood, yeah? Okay. So the question is, how will, maybe you have thoughts, how will Park Avenue Armory give youth the opportunity to view Rashaad's work, or more importantly, experience conversations such as this? So that says accessibility and visibility. Part of that answer is we are live streaming today, so that's one moment. But just beyond that, I mean, what do you think, having part of Assembly, how should the Armory or any other presenting institution give the youth more opportunity to view and engage Rashaad's work and to experience conversations like the one we're having?
I mean, I would invite them, make programming available to them based on whatever times are, for young people friendly, like if it's happening like during school times, build relationships directly with school teachers, directors, people in institutions that can bring 150, 200, 300 students in here at once and let them experience it. I would also say give them leadership opportunities within the Armory, give them a budget, let them produce their own work here, let them, be given the opportunity to be young artists and be seen as well. Honestly, like if they were here making work, they would be here already to see this. So sometimes because people are young, they're not given the resources that other artists get. Just like, Black people have been underfunded in the arts, young people are definitely underfunded in the arts as well.
Yeah, Robert?
I was going to say also, I think it's also, because we do have a platform, each of us that are involved, it's also about us individually amplifying what's here and letting people know about it. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that something to keep in mind too is that once those opportunities or access is actualized, dismantling censorship is really important too, because a lot of youth does have explicit experiences that don't hold any regard to age or gender or race, and allowing them to say those explicit stories as loud as possible is truly what I feel like would be transformative for youth at the Park Avenue Armory.
And I feel that this project is the opportunity for me in particular, to be a bridge between capoeira community that is not LGBT people there already, but they don't have how to close the doors anymore. When I have someone doing one project like this, so serious, with the message in the future, they don't have nothing to say. They need start to study more, to be able, because the LGBT community is arriving capoeira right now, and also in ballroom community, start to remember more who come before us. So connect these both knowledges. I think that will be the future with, I don't want to say the alliance word, but the hold hands. The both alliance, I don't like this word. But hold hands, both communities of hold hands. So I think that for me, this project is the opportunity to send a message.
I think that's so important what you just said there, and I know I've been given a rap signal, so maybe I won't say this, but maybe I will actually, just since, because this idea that one of the questions we had was how to speak to people who are not already members of this church, passionate about this position, this kind of communication, how to even come to them or them to you. Does that get, yeah? And I feel like you basically answered that question, right? Is that like through capoeira, for instance, right? You're really blending a communication between Vogue and another community, Afro-diasporic dance form. Everyone on this panel is doing that work, right? We're not we may be in one church tonight, but we go to a lot of different communities, right? And a part of the beauty of Assembly is that we're not all from the same places, we're not heading in the same directions, but we can extend that the experience that we have here and build from it. I didn't mean to take the last word, but I did want to offer anyone else an opportunity to say something or ask a question before we wrap. I know that was a little bit faster than maybe we had wanted to, but okay, maybe the last word is thanks. That's
You're welcome.
If no one else is going to say anything? Let me just again.
The next show opens on Tuesday, so make sure
Yes.
you don't miss.
Tell a friend.
Count the seed.
Yes. And thank you for reminding me. Just if you did not get a chance to see if you came for the salon but didn't get a chance to go and spend enough time in the exhibition today because you were here listening to us, fabulous people, talk to the box office on the way out, and they will get you a complimentary ticket to come back and experience the exhibition, which is very much worth your time. Thank you, Miss Boogie, Robert, Dazié, Puma, and Lastimo. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And thank you all for being with us tonight. Have a good night.